Some people were raised on like milk and cookies growing up. Some people were raised on sports. When I was 19, I transitioned from what I was doing to go into work for my pops, training real estate professionals. Hard to do something once or twice a year and do it at a real high level and make that experience right for the consumers.
What is the one common belief system that you see across the board?
So there's something to be said about decisiveness, and whether you follow Bezos's one-door, two-door methodology or whatever decision-making process you have as a leader, you have to have a decision-making process. I know what I need to do to make this business successful. Capability, that's a belief.
Markets don't determine your success. You do.
You fall in love with the tradition of your business versus fall in love with serving your customer.
People grossly overestimate 12 months and grossly underestimate 5 or 10 months.
Read the audience, read as much as you can, study what's happening around the world, and then place your bets. In 20 years, you will be sitting at your home, you will be connected to your device, and you'll be connected to people around the world. We are the most socially connected society we've ever been, and we are the most lonely we have ever been today. What would you say is what's causing the most commercially successful real estate professionals to be successful?
Welcome to Pareja Unfiltered, where I interview some of the top leaders in both real estate and outside of real estate. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Tom Ferry. I was in Dallas, and I'm actually filming it in his office, so I appreciate you hosting me for my own podcast. Tom.
I love it, man. I love it. Thank you for letting me be on the show. And dude, thank you for your friendship.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time together.
Long time. So these are some of the most fun ones. So, you know, for the folks that are not in our industry, because this is pretty wide, if you could just give us a little bit of the origin story. I think in real estate, you are the number one coach according to every list that comes out every year. So your name's kind of ubiquitous in our industry. But for the folks that are tuning in that are not from real estate, give us the backstory real quick.
Yeah, I mean, you know, first of all, thank you. Unique perspective that I get in the industry is that some people were raised on like milk and cookies growing up. Some people were raised on sports. I grew up in Southern California, surf, skate, all that kind of stuff. But when I was 19, I transitioned from what I was doing, kind of floundering post high school, to go into work for my pops, who you know, who is celebrating this year 50 years of training real estate professionals. And I was that kid always, Leo, that was just fascinated by like business. And it was the only thing that I was interested in. And I was, you know, throwing parties at friends' houses and charging $1 at the door and, you know, bringing in kegs and bands, probably when I shouldn't, always at your house, never at my house. So I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit, but what my pops gave me the opportunity was a chance to step into not only getting to know the most commercially successful real estate agents across the US, which I started doing in interviews, like audio cassette interviews way back in like 1991. And then when we launched real estate business coaching together in 1992, it was the first time that we went from, let's give people ideas, which is great. Like you go to a seminar, you read a book, you listen to a podcast, you got ideas. And we were like, let's hold people accountable to actually executing. And I think that's when I began to realize like, that's where the action is. And I know this is a leadership podcast, and hopefully we're going to get to some of that, because at the end of the day, like everybody's got a bunch of ideas, but only a small percentage of people actually execute. So the fast version is grew a little family business from, I got in there when it was like doing $2.5 million. When I left, we were doing $50 million a year in revenue, which was a big deal for a, you know, single owner family business. He was basically retired and I was running my executive team and having a great time. Then I left and I started this new business 22 years ago, and you know, very fortunate that I make a lot of great relationships. I've always learned don't burn bridges, even though I sometimes say things that might be controversial. But at the end of the day, we built this into, you know, a nice business. We serve 15,000 clients all over the world. I think we're in like 29 countries now. I've got sub 200 business coaches. And if you ask me like fundamentally, what do I believe? I just believe that the consumer deserves a more reliable, more quality experience. And what I'm committed to with the clients we get to do at events and serve and, you know, do the things we do is to try and help them become more durable, less market driven, more reliable. And I say, like them or not, the portals are reliable. You can find the houses you want to see, right? Like them or not, you know, closing transactions, escrow, et cetera. It might feel like the DMV, but like they get the job done, right? It's reliable. And what we see in the middle, and you see the same data points that I see, is there's a lot of really unbelievable real estate professionals that take this craft like an artisan, like they're so committed to it. But the vast majority of people that get in this industry sell a house now and then. And I, God bless them all. I'm not razzing them, but I just think the consumer deserves a better experience. And it's hard to do something once or twice a year and do it at a real high level and make that experience right for the consumer. So I'm trying to help that. I guess that would be the simple version of what I do.
So you used the word belief system. You've coached some of the highest performers in your industry, as well as you've seen quite a bit that are mediocre by every definition. Sure. What is the one common belief system that you see across the board?
I don't know if there's one. I would probably tell you I've done 75,000 hours of like one-on-one sessions like this, and I'm coached. I have 7 different coaches that are clearly I'm a mess, right? So I need a lot of help. So I have these 7 different coaches that are working with me, and I was asked, like, could you identify the thing that separates like the super high achievers from everybody else, like the true top 1%ers, and I could simply say that that's just being decisive. Like they don't get stuck. They keep making decisions. They keep moving forward. And most of the time they're wrong and they make more decisions, right? So there's something to be said about decisiveness. And whether you follow Bezos's 1-door, 2-door methodology or whatever decision-making process you have as a leader, you have to have a decision-making process because things are coming at us every single day. You're a CEO, I'm a CEO, you have a significantly larger business, you got a lot publicly traded, you got all that stuff, right? So you have all this stuff coming at you. And if you can't make decisions every day, right? You're the problem.
That's it. That's
right.
I got to make decisions all day.
Yeah. You get cut. Well, I own my company, so I won't get cut, but clients will cut me, right? Like something will go wrong. The people that work with me that'll cut me. So that would be one. But beliefs, there's 3 beliefs that I know to be true. If an agent believes, and I would say any business person, if you believe that there is more than enough for you in your marketplace, then you'll go find it. But if you don't believe that there's enough, you won't do anything. And what we're seeing today in real estate for my friends outside of the industry, we went from, I jokingly say 2021 was the champagne and cocaine of real estate. Like everybody was just, wah, right? Because it was really this weird dichotomy. We're in the middle of a pandemic. And yet on the flip side, home price appreciations go through the roof. Interest rates were in the 2s and 3s. Like we've never seen a market like that. And candidly, I don't ever want to see a market like that again because it was a pandemic, right? But there was people even during that time that didn't believe that there was enough transactions. And now today, when we've gone from 6.9 down to 4.2, maybe 4.7 with, new construction, 4.8, whatever it is, there's a percentage that just don't believe there's enough. The second one is, do they believe they're capable of doing it? I remember talking to you about taking on this role. And like one thing that was very apparent to me is you knew you could do it. And whether that was true or not, whether it was a facade or not, you acted as if like, hey, I have this capability. I understand the business. I get the unit economics. I know what I need to do to make this business successful. Capability. That's a belief. But the third one is, and this is the one that I see, you and I are talking off camera, like where do people get stuck? The third belief you have to have is that it'll be worth the effort. How many people do we know that like they've got these unbelievable ambitions, but when it comes to like, that time in our career, a new project, a new endeavor, a new vision, whatever it may be, that time where you got to just go all in and work your face off and go through all the mud and all the muck and all the hard and all the decisions. And you hope and pray that it all works out, but you don't really know. Most people just quit on themselves. Most people just don't believe it's worth the effort. So long answer to decisiveness. And I think it's 3 beliefs. And when those 3 beliefs are intact, that person kicks ass.
So we're in an interesting moment, and I like evergreen content. So I'm gonna say the date for context, but then it's still an evergreen answer. So we're in May of 2025, and last week, for the first time in American history, our debt was downgraded, and the tariffs haven't really hit Main Street, but they're coming. I've already seen kind of the group think of people pulling back on expenses. And I just spoke to a whole bunch of agents this morning and I said, hey, if you've been in the business less than 10 years, like you're going into a different scripting. And when I walked in, you were recording content and you're already coaching people who've probably never been through the correction we're about to see. Right. And one of the things that I've heard you say over the years is that markets don't determine your success. You do. What's the internalization process you see that some people get that and some people just don't?
So in real estate or just in general?
I think it's applicable to both,
Yeah.
by the way.
I mean, I've invested in 120 companies. I got 2 emails today that told me either put more money in or write this off. so I've seen a lot of victories. I also, by the way, invested today in Neuralink. I think it's my third Elon Musk company that I invested in. So I say that to you because I've invested in enough companies and I've started enough companies. You know, it's very easy for me to say to people, the market doesn't determine your success. What does determine your success is, do you listen to your clients? Do you know what their problems are? Can your unit economics match the product market fit to have your product serve the customers in a way that is delightful for them at the right price with the right margin for you? And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. We have a tendency, myself included, we fall in love with our product. Like, this is how I've always done it, man. It's like the great Broadway play Fiddler on the Roof, right? If you ever saw that play, the only class I got an A in all 5 high schools I went to was musical appreciation because my mom was a Mouseketeer and we always listened to records, which is always strange when you have a mohawk and you're doing that with your mom, but it's all good. But I remember listening to that play and watching the dad in the opening scene, standing there with the violin, playing his violin, talking to himself. Like, we don't know why we stand here on these rooftops and play the violin. It's just tradition. Right? We don't know why we wear the sash around our waist. It's just tradition. Well, that's the same thing. Like, you fall in love with the tradition of your business versus fall in love with serving your customer. What is the problem that we need to fundamentally solve? And then how do we work like mad to use all the modern tools we have today with AI or outsourcing, which all that I know drives some people nuts these days, to make sure that I can deliver a product in a really precise way that solves a problem and does it at a reasonable cost with a great profit? And I think that's the problem. Like, I think people, we just get so stuck in our ways. So I don't know if I'm really answering your question.
No, that works.
But, whether it's, you recruiting an agent, me having another agent join one of my events or doing one of my programs, I got to look at the same stuff the same way every single day. Now, on the flip side, I can't say to you, talking with a bunch of really smart people, and you talk to a bunch and I talk to a bunch, it's really divided today. Like, is everything going to go up in price because of tariffs or is it not? But who wrote the book, Only the Paranoid Survive? I think we're best to remain paranoid.
So you've managed to stay relevant for 30 years, be on a lot of stages, and watching you for a long time, you've managed to reinvent yourself. What are the kind of the behind the scenes, like active reinventions versus just keeping up with the times? Because you've mastered the pivot better than most.
Yeah, it is something that I'm proud of. But if I told you my musical muse, it would make sense. You could see like Kiss on the wall. It's not Kiss though. I love Kiss. It's David Bowie. So I watched Bowie, kind of go from this folksy, long-haired, one-hit wonder. And then he becomes Ziggy Stardust. And that's when he took off. And then he became Aladdin Insane. Then he became the Thin White Dude. Then he kept evolving. And whether it was evolving because of his creative outlets or his juices, or did he understand the zeitgeist? Did he understand where things were going? And I use a combination of David Bowie, my mentor, Mike Vance, and I'm going to go old school on you. Maybe a name you haven't thought about in a while. Faith Popcorn. Do you ever read the book, The Popcorn Report? You should read The Popcorn Report. I'm trying to get Faith on my show. We should try and get her on your show. So Faith, back in like the late 80s. So she's a futurist. She is active today. She's in New York City. I don't know how old she is.
Mr. Fuller type?
Bucky was different. So my mentor was Bucky's best friend, right? Mike Vance and him, they built the Geodesic Dome in Orlando. So I have a little context for Bucky, but not in that sense. I think of it more like maybe the modern version could be maybe like a Dr. Peter Diamandis, who kind of says the singularity is around the corner. Oh, yeah. AI, robotics, longevity. We're going to live to be 100.
2.5 years ago, we were in his office and he's like, it's here. Agentic AI is here.
100%.
And he's just always a little ahead of schedule. He's not wrong.
For sure.
It's just the timeline gets mixed up.
Well, think about this. So the Popcorn Report comes out, I don't want to miss 90, 91, something like that. And she literally says, in 20 years, you will be sitting at your home where everything is delivered to you in real time. You never have to leave. All the comforts you want. You will be connected to your device and you'll be connected to people around the world. She wrote that in 1991.
Whoa.
Like, so the modern internet, when did it really show up?
Like early 2000s.
Right. Like not 95 like when I spent $1 million to launch my first website.
I remember still faxing contracts before I emailed them.
1000%. So here she is in 1989, 88, writing this thesis. And that was like one of like 30 predictions. And her accuracy is like in the high 90s. It's worth it for the person listening to this to, I don't know, follow her on X, go to her website, she has a new sort of recent where I think we're 10 years in to where she thinks it's going to be in 35. And I haven't studied it enough to like really dig into it because I'm kind of going through the first book again and going, she was right. I try and do that. I try and tap into where's the puck going, right? So sometimes I'm too early. You know, I think it was super early on YouTube, but I think I told you the story. Like it's 2007. We're in the global financial crisis. It's Tuesday. I'm playing golf. There's nothing else to do, right? And my buddy says to me, hey, do you want to play golf? And this guy is, I love this guy, but Leo, think of the person you know with no personality, then times it by 10, and then imagine spending 4 hours with them on the golf course. So I'm thinking, I'd rather pull my teeth out, right? But the guy behind him is this guy, David On. And David says to me, I'm like, hey, David, nice to meet you. What do you do? He goes, I work at Google. And I was like, kind of a big company. Are you in Sydney, Silicon Valley, New York? He's like, New York. I'm like, oh, you're a media guy. He's like, yeah. And I go, what do you do? He goes, I'm in charge of the homepage. Well, David, would you like a cocktail, a back rub, and get in my car? And I basically interviewed him for 4 hours. And the guy told me the audio messages that you're doing, we would now call that podcast. You've done that for 3 years. That's stupid. I was like, wait, but I've done this for 3 years. He's like, yeah, that's stupid. You should stop. I'm like, what do I do? And he goes, we just bought YouTube. I'm like, dude, the Dance Dance video, Charlie bit my finger. Like, really? He's like, you need to go all in on this. I filmed from, I think it was like July 7th, 2007. I went and bought like a flip video camera or something like that. Started filming content, but not until like, I would say, 2012 did I start getting phone calls. Hi, Ferry, we'd like to hire you. Will you come do episode 14, 27, 93, and 8 in that order? And I'm like, I don't even know what they're talking about. So I think you need to be willing, back to the question, to explore what is hot and where you think it's going and place your bets, which is what I've always done. And when you place your bets, be totally fine that 5 of them might bust and 1 of them is all you need to have a massive competitive edge over your competition. So always think consumer first. Where's the puck going? What's the zeitgeist? Read the audience, read as much as you can, study what's happening around the world, and then place your bets.
So speaking of like the zeitgeist, coaching has exploded in the last 5 years.
Sure.
I can't scroll through my social feed and not get pitched.
Everybody's a coach.
Product.
Everybody's a coach.
Yet it has a ton of burnout.
For sure.
What's the coaching advice that needs to die in 2025?
That everybody can. And that a coach can help everybody. Look, there's how many really talented high school and college athletes don't make it, right? They're just not coachable. They want it, but they don't really want it. You with me on this? I think it's that. I think the other one is we need to stop pushing people to always do more. That the vast majority of human beings, if you go back to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, or you look at like the XY theory of management or the 4 levels of learning, and I like to sometimes look at all 3 of those side by side when I'm talking to somebody, the vast majority of people just want to make enough money to be okay. You know what I mean?
And the law of large numbers and averages.
And it's okay, right? But like sometimes I'll say things on Facebook or Insta or whatever it may be, and I'm just like, look, like the vast majority of people are just not that good at this. Like, so just be okay, like doing the 1 or 2 transactions you're doing, but like, don't complain about it because anybody can go out there and sell more houses. All the information is available and it's all for free. So I think it's probably a little bit of that, but what do you think?
It depends, right? So I think people need to choose to be exceptional or just be okay with averages. And I actually go to the mental framework of I'm remarkably average by a lot of definitions. And sometimes people think it's hyperbole and I'm trying to be relatable. But like pivoting to the AI part, right? And again, we documented the time and date in history. But about 30 days ago, I got a massive anxiety that I've been trying to transfer over to my agents, right? And it's the Shopify CEO, all company email, the Fiverr email.
Hire no one.
Yeah, it's hiring freeze, retrofit.
Yes.
And so this is the interesting moment and I think part of it is just having lived enough to saw what happened with YouTube, and I saw you do it early, and now I'm like, this AI thing is going to be like the next social and many other comparisons.
bigger.
No,
It's like the next electricity.
Correct.
That's how big it is.
But what I was going to say is what I've been saying to my employees and my agents. It's like I agree. And we're at like MySpace, like Instagram and Facebook and YouTube
100%.
aren't even here yet.
100%.
So if you could capture this moment and understand that we were here before YouTube, because how many people say, I wish I would have got in front of a camera in 2008, my life would be completely different. So when I said I was remarkably big average in the last couple of weeks, and I had anxiety around that, it's because I actually, understand that I'm average within my peer group, right? So yes, I'm an anomaly by most definitions, but in like the top S&P 1,000 companies, I'm probably in a comparable IQ, awareness, and like team structure where if I'm thinking about this and I'm saying, wait, we should look at everything and retrofit everything and put it through an AI native framework first. Probably a lot of people who sit in the seat I do and have the same resources as I do are having the exact same conversation. So now it's an arms race. And the aha I've had because of my background, and I've actually built tech companies. This is a great, this is going to be a great leveling framework I haven't seen before because technologists can't gatekeep this, right? So the last anything I built, I was subject to a project manager who wrote requirements to translate to technical, and then the team would put it into a sprint. And if I was lucky, in 90 days, I saw a wireframe. And then maybe in 6 months, I had a prototype. And then it was like 8 months later, I even forgot what my recs were. Versus like now, I don't need anyone. I just sit in Lovable by myself.
Lovable, yeah, Claude, vibe coding, exactly. So what's interesting, going back to the zeitgeist thing, and you do this, I do this as much as I can. I think for the person listening, you got to get in the right rooms, right? So like I'm a part of Dr. Peter Diamandis' Abundance 360. And when you sit inside a room like that, you realize if they ask me questions about MySpace, like my actual business, I'm the expert. But there's another 359 people inside that room that are world-class in their space. And 3 years ago, guess what we were talking about? AI. Yeah. Then I went to the AI4 conference in Vegas. It was me, my client DJ, his wife, and I don't think anybody else was there with us, just the three of us. And we were like completely blown away. It was so early. It felt like the first time you heard dial-up. And you were like, oh, you mean I can talk to people all over the world? Like, this is insane, right? And now here we are, fast forward, 33 months later. And you're right, we're still on the precipice, but I think every CEO today is in a bit of a panic. And what happens? You sit in a board meeting, one of your board members says to you, hey, Leo, what's your strategy for AI? And you're like, oh, we're working on all kinds of stuff. And then you call all your people and go, what's our strategy for AI? And this downward pressure exists. But that's no different from in 2010 at one of my annual conferences. I'm like, look, guys, we're now entering the video first marketing world. And I was wrong because it wasn't until 2013 when that happened. But those that started to listen and those that started to film were they'd got so many reps in, which is what you're doing if you're sitting on Level, which I love that company. And if you can get me in as an investor, you heard it here first. I want to invest in that company. Jimmy Mackin and I are obsessed with it.
After Windsurf got acquired for $3 billion, 75 times top line of just revenue, I think they're probably getting more than one phone call.
For sure. So, yeah.
So let's stay on this, right? Because part of me, one thing I always say is people grossly overestimate 12 months and grossly underestimate 5 or 10 years.
I agree.
And I think that's what happens with most societal shifts and technology, right? So, I live in Miami, as you know, and 4 years ago, I couldn't go anywhere without some bro telling me about blockchain and on-chain and how
changing the world.
Not even crypto, like on-chain, all smart contracts, and it was just obnoxious, right? And especially because in Miami, I'm Ariana's husband. I'm not Leo, the CEO. I'm the plus one to the superstar. And the amount of people who are like, oh, do you know anything about real estate? I'm like, no. And they were telling me how they were going to put real estate on chain.
Yes.
And just like, I know how that is just structurally not happening in my lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
my friend who's the former CEO of F&F said, we are the blockchain. I was like, yeah, you guys got 40%, 47% market share. Yes.
So I do think there is a lot of hype.
Yeah.
And again, I made the comment about coaching in my feed. In this last week, it's probably because I keep talking about the stuff, the social eavesdropping is picking up. But I'm now even seeing a bunch of coaching products around AI.
Of course.
So there is hype. There's a ton of hype.
Is it coaching or is it training?
Both.
Okay, because I tell people all the time, like,
there's a difference.
I have a trainer who trains me on like, hey, let's make sure your structure is the right way. Your yoga, whatever it may. I have a trainer for transcendental meditation. I have a coach who I go to for guidance, guardrails, strategic thinking partner. And I think we need to separate the two for anybody out there listening. Like masterclass, I've had somebody say to me, yeah, masterclass is kind of my coach. I'm like, no, masterclass is watching a bunch of people with some beautiful quality video tell you how they did what they did. But until I can ask them questions and say, but what about me in my scenario and what do you recommend? That's where you go from training to a coach. One way to two way. Just my 2 cents.
So part of it is hype. Especially, I think, in the venture side. Like everyone just throws the word AI and want a monster valuation. So 2-part question. So let me get my thought out. One is, what is hype and what isn't? And then this is the thesis I'm starting to develop. Because then again, I reserve to change my mind every day. Is that I think that these tools at scale are about to level up most forms of communication. So everyone's going to be a perfect written orator. Everyone's going to have impeccable social posts and videos shortly with HeyGen and 11 Labs, right? And my guess is that we're going to follow societal norms. And you've heard me say this sentence, and I think you like it, is marketers ruin everything, right? Because the game of marketing is to find an outside return on effort, dollars or time, right? You send an email, and, in the late 90s, you had 68% open rate. And then you guys all broke it. Yeah. We all broke it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then social.
Facebook ads cost me nothing. Google ads cost me nothing.
We break it. We break everything.
Yeah.
So my guess is that we're about to break all forms of digital communication because everyone's going to be expert at it. And the outcome of that is going to be a premium on human interaction.
I agree.
So thoughts on both those questions?
Yes.
Well, the hype.
So
we're his like our population are always like, what do I do? How do I focus?
Look, there's the early adopters, right? Early adopters, excuse me. And then there's the fast follows. And we know there's always a percentage of our communities and most industries that are early adopters. We also know that only a percentage of them actually ever make it. 2,900, don't quote me on this. This is probably a perplexity, quick question. 2,900 car companies from Ford to like today there's, I think in the 90s there was 3. You with me on this?
Yeah.
So we've seen that. Railroads, the telephone industry, cell phone, like we've hotels. My God, Marriott owns everything. You with me? So we always see that happening. Now, when it comes to AI today, I think it only comes down to like 3 things for the average person. It's more, better, faster. That's it. Just more, better, faster. More, better photos, more, better text, more, better videos, more, better, a lot of copy, like that. That's all it is. So if I'm sitting here today and I'm like, I don't know where to start. I'm like, well, what do you need more of? What do you need to do better? And what do you need to do faster? And then there's an AI tool for everything. Now, that's the early stage. We're already seeing now from early stage, this is kind of fun and interesting. Oh, look, I can go on Grok and it could like yell at me and tell me I'm a candy ass and, all these different like fun little features. But when I listen to the smartest people, where they tell me it's going, I get very excited and I get very nervous for society. So I think content's just going to be stupid, right? Like, the AI is only showing me the things I'm interested in. So like my Instagram is basically like health and vitality, doodles, and like Italian food because my wife's Italian. Like that's all I see. Yeah. So the AI.
My social feed doesn't know what I am. They're like, he's a redneck that likes to hunt and cook.
Exactly. And he likes spearfishing, right? Yes. So AI is going to continue to serve us more of the things we want. And I agree with you because I'm in this debate all the time with other content creators. Like I think it's going to be really fun if in the future at the bottom of every video it says, "Hey Jen," right? I think that should be done, right? And I think
for
that's
disclosure.
That's okay,
should
right?
Be disclosure.
And then we're gonna have these like organic content creators, and some people will go on Hey Jen and be like, "Oh, don't edit this." And it was all full of shit, right? They just typed the script and made sure it did, And by the way, the CEO of Hey Jen, I met him at the Abundance 360 conference. I was on Hey Jen a couple of years ago, and it was like, right? And now it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And in 6 months,
it'll
be unrecognizable. It'll be unrecognizable. So I do agree on that. I think what's going to happen is human connection, not just on social, but human connection in every element. If you look at like suicide rates, if you look at depression today, you look at the amount of young people that are now going to see therapists today. We are the most socially connected society we've ever been, and we are the most lonely we have ever been today. So I think it's at a certain point, I don't think social is going to go away, but I think you're going to see a retraction I think you're going to see a lot of people turning their phone off, wanting to disconnect, wanting to go outside.
My niece and nephews in their early 20s, I see it. They're not nearly as hooked on phones as, millennials and Xers.
No. And like you and I both know, like doing what we do with the amount of inbound we get. And I gave email to my chief of staff for Christmas. I was like, "Merry Christmas. I love you. Here's email."
I gave it up a year ago.
Okay. Well, so I'm following the leader here, partner. My mistake was
I've got like an AI tool I got for you.
Which one?
Fixer.
Oh, we got Fixer. Yeah. Justin Benson. Shout out to Justin Benson, Shiloh. I'm an investor in that company. Are you an investor in that company?
No.
That's a good example of where I think AI is going. So instead of like more, better, faster, can I do better photos, better videos, better copy, better social posts, whatever it may be, read my contracts. I got a contract today. I'm like, tell me where I'm getting screwed. Do you know what I mean? And it could rip through that. I think that's going to be awesome, right? Save me time.
We got Fixer for our top producers.
Of course.
And gave it to them.
Yes.
And one of them said, "You brought joy back to email," right? Because it was so bad. I didn't log in for a year. And then it's like you categorized everything and then wrote the responses I should write. And then I get to edit them. And then it's fun. Then I log in for 5 minutes, respond to the 6 things I should respond to. And then everything else goes in the spam folder.
Bingo. Do you know Starloop?
Mm-mm.
Starloop's another one, right? So Starloop, we all have Google
reviews. We are
reviews.
an investor in Fixer, just so you know.
Say again?
We are an investor in Fixer.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for getting me in.
Am I
allowed to bust your chops on your podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because I got that from Justin Benson, signed up on the spot, and then handed it to Ruby and said, "You should use this." We gave it to
Justin because he's...
Oh, okay, there you go.
He's one of our agents.
So Starloop, interestingly enough, I was talking to the founder. I want to say he lives in the Netherlands or something, somewhere in Europe, I think is in the Netherlands. And I'm like, "So tell me the mission of the company." He said, "So everyone wants reviews, and we understand the review economy, how important it is. The challenge is
I live by for restaurants because I'm traveling all the time.
Of course, me too, right? But you don't respond fast enough. You sometimes don't respond the right way." And he said, "So we listened to something that you did 1 million years ago where you were saying this is like 10 years ago, I'd say to agents, like, you should send one of your best clients a $20 Starbucks gift card and say, I was thinking about you the other day, enjoy Starbucks on me. By the way, I've launched a new review page on Zillow, Google, whatever it may be. It would mean the world to me." And I said it casually. I didn't mean like, this is the only way. So he says, we started doing that and we got an okay response. He said, then we tested something else, got an okay response. Then we tested something else, got an okay response. And then we finally said, "Hey, look, if you use our software, every time you get a review, we will plant a tree on your behalf." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he said, and people ate it up. But what the software does is you get a review on your Google, whatever, Zillow for a real estate agent, and the review comes in, Starloop automatically notifies you and then says, "Here's 3 responses, pick one." So like Fixer, here's responses, pick one, boom. In real time, you're now responding. And we both know the impact of Google's algorithm. We'll see in the future whether it's
ChatGPT's algorithm.
Right? But you saw they're now running ads, by the way. Did you see that? I thought that was interesting. I'm an investor in Perplexity. I'm an investor in Grok. I hope they don't go to ads. I really hope they don't go to, but more than likely they're going to.
And we don't have that much time left because you have somewhere else to be, but I just had a use case with an agent. And again, this is applicable to all businesses, where the prompt on ChatGPT was, "Who's the most investor-centric agent in Houston?" And Brandon Schneider came up, and it was a Saturday, and he was playing Dungeons and Dragons with his son. So he's a self-described nerd like myself and Glenn. And Fixer, so the consumer clicked on the email, Fixer created the email and the available times for next week. He looked at it, clicked send as is, send his calendar link. The consumer was blown away, scheduled a call for Tuesday. So 3 days later, it was a 30-minute call virtually. He's under escrow to buy a $300,000 rental property, all cash, right? So what people need to hear in this conversation, it's like people get lost in agentic AI and workflows.
More, better, faster.
This is speed to lead. And again, that's applicable to any product and service on the planet.
100%. 100%. The reason why, and not to knock your investment, because you can drive a lot of success for that company. The reason why I wouldn't invest in that is Microsoft's going to do it. Google's going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Google's kind of already done it, right? So there's these other, like, I'm always mindful because I've invested.
My guess is that somebody's going to just buy it and add it because it's faster.
I hope so.
Faster, better.
Listen, I mean, right, like,
ChatGPT could have
100%
windsurf.
100%. I'm an investor in so many companies that I'm just like, this person should buy that. Oh God, they just built it. Darn it. And then I'm like, honey, I'm writing that one off. Like, that one's dead. So let me flip it on you, since we're, doing this interview. What would you say if you looked back over the last 12 months, what would you say is what's causing the most commercially successful real estate professionals to be successful?
It's what I've seen for 23 years. It's the ones that block and tackle and focus on the basics, right? What I do as a leader is I model the behavior I want, right? So I wanted folks fixed on the basics, right? So I spend 60% of my day one-to-one or one-to-many agent facing, right? Because that's what I want them doing with their people. And so, I'm very involved in my top, performers' businesses. I know what they do. I know, again, involved in, not in the coaching way, but just connected and asking, how can I make you better? Is it tools? Is it services?
What else do you need to remove?
Is it masterminds? Is it, how do I, make you go faster, stronger, better? I actually say faster, stronger, better. Like that's my sentence. So right now it's, cost of goods sold, contacts, how many conversations, how long are the conversations? Like, take your salespeople and, let's open up your CRM, and what's the average number of conversations and how long are they? And we had Mike Del Prete speak at an event, and there was 100 or so secret shops of consumers. And the question was open-ended. So it wasn't multiple choice, because that's leading the witness. So what are you looking for in a realtor? What do you think it was? 3 things. In 2025, with all the technology and AI, faster, stronger, better, more, faster. There was 3 words that came back.
Were they 3 words together, or was it like
3 separate words that were typed in?
Okay, so I would think
these were the 3 most important things to consumers across the board.
Because I've looked at so many of these from old days of Google, hanging out with a Google gal who ran all the real estate.
Well, this was actually a survey.
I'm with you. I'm thinking it's going to be like something around speed, like get back to me fast, likability, right, and knowledgeable would be my guess.
Patience. Number 1.
Interesting. I like that.
Followed by knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And the last one, transparency.
Transparency in what way?
Truth.
Yeah. Okay. So
honesty,
likable, truth.
No.
Likable's different. I'm with you.
It's like, tell me the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I like about that, especially because you asked me today.
Where did this report come from?
Mike Del Prete did it.
All right, I'm gonna get that from Mike.
Yeah. It was, what does that have to do with AI? What does that have to do with workflow? What does that have to do with speed? What is, like, all the stuff that I think both of our combined population run around worried about, right? So to me, it's
Give me the 3 again. So
patience,
knowledgeable,
transparency.
Trust. Yeah, transparency,
or trust.
Yeah, trust was the number one thing when I sat down with the Google team. They were like, the only thing they care about is trust. And then it was like, and don't take this personally, the very last one was what brokerage they're at.
Oh, of course.
And you know that, like, they didn't care. They're like, I want Leo. Leo's the guy in Miami. She's the expert, whatever it may be. So interesting. So how do you take that back to your peeps and say, if these are the 3 most important things to consumers, again, probably a small, 1,000 consumers, were they recent buyers, recent seller, you know what I mean? Like our friends at 1000 Watt do a lot of these, like, people that have sold, people that recently bought, people that recently sold, people that are thinking about it. I think it's so interesting to then take that and say, now, what do we learn from this? What's the insight? How does it change how we approach marketing? Is it softer? Is it, so how are you advising them to use this information to do something?
I was just with a group of my folks. That's why I'm in Dallas. And I always go back to what we do for a living, right? And I think people overcomplicate most things, right? In residential real estate, we sell the thing that stores human beings. It is an essential service. It is an essential need. Pavlov hierarchy of needs that you quoted earlier is like right there. Yeah. Food, shelter, safety. Yeah. So it is necessary. Yeah. We need to store humans somewhere. So you said 4 million and 7 million. You quoted the numbers. That's kind of the possible zone. So even in the worst economy, with the worst headwinds, we probably will see 4 million people move because people die. People get married. People have kids, right? Household formation drives the human move. So I always go back to, it doesn't matter what's going on. There's going to be someone who needs your expert guidance, right? Because we are a Sherpa that guide people through an infrequent, expensive, friction-full process. And you and I saw, $50 billion deployed into this industry for the last 10 years, trying to get rid of it. But the problem is the complexity and the infrequency, right? There is 3,500 plus courthouses. There is changing laws about lending, and it is terrifying and it is expensive.
100%. I tell people, what do you do once every 10 years that you do with tremendous confidence? And they all look at me and go, well, that's why you'll always need a guide, a Sherpa. I love the word Sherpa because I use it all the time too. A guide, a Sherpa, a real estate professional to help you unlock opportunities and avoid a lot of disasters because they happen every day in real estate transactions. This goes back to my reliability thing. I just want more reliable experiences for consumers.
I don't think people realize how, often we talk or when we pop into each other's worlds. So it's always a pleasure to hang out with you, my friend.
Thanks for having me on the show, man. And I appreciate always the back and forth and the candor and the relationship. So, hey, if you're out there, he's the man.